The World Cup is less than 1 month away. Ooh, got a little bit too excited there, guys. Guys, the World Cup is less than 1 month away. And with that being said, in today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys the top 5 most underrated countries competing in this year's World Cup. Obviously, I had to wear my San Marino tracksuit for this because they are the worst team in the world and they're a little bit underrated in my opinion. But today we're going to be talking about 5 countries that I think should be rated higher by football fans, by football analysts, and by everyone that will be watching this World Cup. Now, some of these teams are rated very low, some of them a little bit higher, but all of these teams I think should be ranked higher than where most people seem to be ranking them. Obviously, if you guys enjoyed this video, remember to leave a comment down below and don't forget to join up my live stream on Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we will be creating the best combined 11 for the 2026 World Cup. It's gonna be a crazy stream. But without further ado, let's get right into this video. Starting off with the first nation, we're gonna go with Ecuador. Now, I think Ecuador are really underrated in this World Cup, and yes, they may be ranked fairly high by FIFA in 23, but I personally think they should be higher. If you remember them in the CONMEBOL qualifiers, guys, they were incredible. They finished in 2nd place, only behind Argentina. They were ahead of the likes of Colombia, ahead of Brazil, ahead of Uruguay, and they had the least goals conceded. They only conceded 5 goals in 18 matches. Guys, 5 goals in 18 matches. Do you know how crazy that is? That's less than 1 goal for every 3 games played. That's incredible. And that is the biggest strength with this Ecuadorian team. It's their defense. If you look at their defensive lineup, they have some fantastic defenders. First of all, Ordóñez, I think this guy is a fantastic player, can play in the middle, can play on the right side, very good center back. Pacho, obviously we've seen how good he is with PSG. Hincapié, amazing center back with Arsenal. Obviously they have Moises Caicedo in the midfield, who is one of the best defensive midfielders in the world. They have a player like Estupiñán who can play at the left back. They have a stacked defensive lineup. In my opinion, they may have a top 5 defensive lineup in the World Cup. Now, I will say that in my opinion, the biggest struggle with Ecuador is their attack. If they had a good attack, they could be a top 10 team in the world. Honestly, their team with a great attack is fantastic, but I do think that is the area that they lack a little bit. But one player that I think is very important for the Ecuadorian attack is Prata. I think he is the key player for that attack. Obviously, he is currently playing in the Brazilian league with Flamengo, but in my opinion, if Prata has a good tournament, he is definitely probably one of the most creative players for this Ecuadorian attack. I think he's very important. Also, I want to mention Kendry Páez. Now, he is a very young player. He's only 19 years of age, but he is a fantastic player. Obviously, he had that stint at Chelsea. We saw him score a few goals, and now he is currently on loan at River Plate. But once again, I think he could be a very important player for this Ecuadorian attack. Now, in terms of their manager, Becasese, I'm not really the biggest fan of him. I feel like he's very good at getting draws, at getting his team to play very well defensively. And to be fair, their team does have a lot of very good defenders. So that is a fair point, but I still feel like he needs to have more tactical flexibility on the attack. And if a game isn't going their way, I feel like he may not be the best manager. And that's why in some of Ecuador's recent games, they just get draws after draws after draws. As you can see, draw against Chile, draw against Brazil, draw against Peru, draw against Paraguay, draw against USA, Mexico, and Canada, and more recently, a draw against Morocco and a draw against Netherlands. Now, I'm not saying these results are bad, but in some of these games, I think if Becasese and some of Ecuador's attackers were a little bit better, they probably could have got the win. Now, to be fair, in the World Cup, draws are good. Draws are very good. Having a more defensive team is very good in the World Cup. But I think if they can perform better on the attack, then they can go really far in this World Cup. Moving on to the next underrated country, we have Côte d'Ivoire. Honestly, I love Côte d'Ivoire. I'm a big fan of them. I liked how they performed in the AFCON. I loved how they performed in the qualifiers. And for me, a very important part of this team is their manager, Emerson Faé. I feel like since Emerson Faé took over, Ivory Coast have just been such a better team. If you look at his win rate with Ivory Coast, it's incredible. He's won 22 out of 31 matches, only getting 5 losses. That's incredible. That's a 71% win rate, which is very good for Côte d'Ivoire. And for me, what I love about Emerson Faé is that originally Ivory Coast were a very, very defensive team. And if you saw them during the qualifiers, they were incredible defensively. Their defense is stacked. You know, they have players like Diomande, they have players like Singo, Kosonu with Atalanta is a very, very good player as well. Evan Ndika, one of their more experienced center backs, a very good player as well. And even in the midfield with players like Kessie, players like Ibrahim Sangare, very defensive midfielders. So they have a very strong defensive setup. But I feel like what Emerson Faye has been really, really good at doing is getting the attack involved and using the width with players like Amad Diallo, players like Adingra, players like Eliwahi, even players like Yan Diomande. All of these players are very good wide players. And that's one of Cote d'Ivoire's biggest strength, is their ability to play out wide. Any of their fullbacks are also very, very involved in a lot of their plays. They make a lot of overlapping runs, and that is very, very useful for the wingers as well. And that's why I feel like Cote d'Ivoire has transitioned from being a more defensive team in the qualifiers to now being a very, very good attacking team. In my opinion, Cote d'Ivoire are a top 4 team in Africa. They have a very, very well-rounded team, a great defense, a great midfield, and a fantastic attack with very good wingers as well. And paired up with a manager that I'm a big fan of, I think they can definitely cause a few upsets in this World Cup. It's going to be interesting to see because both Ecuador and Cote d'Ivoire are in the same group. Moving on to the next underrated country, I've gone with Austria. In my opinion, Austria are probably the most underrated European nation. Now, I will say another team like Bosnia may possibly another underrated country, but for me, I've gone with Austria. If you guys noticed, a common theme that we've been seeing with some of these underrated nations is their manager. And once again, Ralf Rangnick, I'm a big fan of this guy. I feel like what Ralf Rangnick has done with Austria has been incredible. And if you look at his win rate since he's been with Austria, 60%. Again, incredible win rate. And a team like Austria, they had a little bit of an aging squad. Some of their best players are starting to get old. Players like Alaba, players like Sabitzer, even players like Marko Arnautovic. Some of their best players are starting to get up there in age, but to see them still performing at the level that they are, in my opinion, a lot of it does come down to Ralf Rangnick. But I feel like Austria also have a lot of very underrated players. If you look at a player like Baumgartner, I think for a lot of his career, he's been a very, very underrated player. A player like Grealish, same situation. Karni Chukwuemeka recently switched to Austrian nationality, and I think he would definitely be a good player with them. And even in the attack, a player like Michael Gregorich, this guy is incredible. He can score loads and loads of goals. And that's the thing with Austria, is even though, like I mentioned, they may have a little bit of an aging squad, as in some of their better players might be getting up there in age, a lot of these players are having very, very good seasons in their domestic league. And I think that will be a big help for this Austrian team. If you look at Austria in the World Cup qualifying, obviously they did finish first place in their group, and they were actually in a pretty difficult group. Now, obviously they had San Marino in the group, so they were always going to beat them. But a team like Romania, a team like Bosnia and Herzegovina, two very, very strong European teams. But Austria, for majority of the games they played, performed very well. And especially if you look at them in more recent matches, 5-1 win against Ghana. Now, to be fair, I don't think Ghana have a very good team at all, but 5-1 is still very impressive. And then a 1-0 win against South Korea. That is the more impressive result in my opinion, because you can score 5 goals against Ghana, fair enough. But to keep a clean sheet against South Korea, to score a goal, and even though in some parts of this game, they maybe weren't the best team, South Korea maybe had a decent amount of shots, but it shows you that Austria were very, very defensively resolute. They were very good on the defense. The midfield was very good in this game. Schlager, as you can see, man of the match. He had an incredible performance. And I feel like this shows a lot of great things for Austria coming into this World Cup. Moving on to the next country, I've gone with Jordan. This one, I feel like a lot of people may not expect, but guys, Jordan are definitely underrated. If you look at Jordan in recent years, we've seen them get great results across Asian competitions, and we've seen them beat some of the best Asian teams. We've seen them get good results against Uzbekistan, good results against South Korea, and we've seen them make it to the last 2 finals of both the Asian Cup and also the Arab Cup. Now, sadly, we saw Qatar win the Asian Cup and we saw Morocco win the Arab Cup. But to make it to 2 finals, it really shows you how much of a rise Jordan are currently on. For me, I think if you look at the Arab Cup final, I feel like this perfectly describes Jordan. They're a team that can score loads of goals. They can score 1, 2, 3 goals in almost every single game they play. But defensively, that's where the real problem lies for Jordan. As you can see in this game, they lost 3-2 against Morocco. Now, obviously, these weren't the best teams, but defensively, Jordan, in my opinion, just are not good enough. And even if we look at their more recent friendly against Costa Rica, once again, they scored 2 goals. Great on the attack. But defensively, they conceded 2 late goals against Costa Rica. And Jordan in this game, they realistically probably could have scored more than 2 goals, but that comes down to the inexperience of the squad and the inexperience of their defense playing at the top level of competition, but also the ability that they have to see out games. In my opinion, it's not the best. I think they are a decent team and they may possibly get out of the group stage, but I still have to put them in this video as an underrated team. It seems like everyone always hates on Jordan, but I just gotta let you guys know their attack can definitely score goals. And finally, the last team we got, you already know, it's one of my favorite African nations, DR Congo. Guys, I love DR Congo and I think their team is really, really underrated. If you guys remember, we looked at many different World Cup power rankings. We saw the power ranking from CBS Sports, we saw it from The Guardian, we saw it from The Athletic, Fox Sports, and all of these power ranking had DR Congo pretty much lower than 40th place, usually between like 39th and 47th. So some of them even had Congo as one of the worst African nations. Bro, I'm telling you, DR Congo are on the rise. I love their manager. I think their manager, Desabre, is a good manager, but their squad, in my opinion, is the most impressive part of this Congolese national team. I think they have a really, really good squad. And recently, we've seen a lot of players from England, from Belgium, from other countries choose to represent DR Congo as their nationality. Obviously, they have Congolese ancestry and they've chosen to represent Congo. And I think they've gotten a lot of really good players because of this. If you look at their defense, players like Wan-Bissaka, players like Axel Tuanzebe, who obviously were born in England, have chosen to represent Congo. But for me, some of the players that they already had on their squad are some of the best players. Players like Chancel Mbemba, who for me is the leader of that back line and why Congo are still such a good team defensively. But even if we go to the midfield, in my opinion, a player like Noah Sadiki, I'm a big fan of Noah Sadiki. He's still a very, very young player. I'm pretty sure he's my age. How old is he? I think he's 2004. Yeah, it's 2004, so he's literally my age, and he is a fantastic player, had a great season with Sunderland, and now with that experience from playing in the Premier League, bringing it to the World Cup, I think he can definitely be a big help for DR Congo. But even some other players like Bongonda, players like Mishak Elia, and in the attack with Bakambu, with Johan Wissa, with Simon Banza, they have some very, very good attackers. And with that being said, I feel like this is one of the most well-rounded DR Congo teams that we've ever really seen. We often do see Congo produce good talent, but usually they may have a couple players in their squad that are decent players, but now they have a few good defenders, a few good midfielders, some very, very good attackers, and a pretty good manager in my opinion as well. So I think that they can possibly upset a lot of people in this World Cup. Now, they are in a very, very difficult group. In my opinion, probably the second hardest group with the likes of Portugal, Colombia, and Uzbekistan. And that will definitely be very hard. But if they perform to the top of their abilities, if they perform how we saw them in some games in the AFCON, you know, getting that draw against Senegal, they got some very, very good results. And if they play like that in the World Cup, they're very resolute defensively, but they're able to score a goal, maybe even 2 goals, then we could see Congo get out of the group. And me personally, I would love to see that happen. I would love to see Congo make it to the round of 32, maybe even the round of 16. If they do that, I need to buy a DR Congo jersey. But that is the end of this video. Those were my top 5 most underrated teams heading into this World Cup. If you guys agree with my list, remember to leave a comment down below. But obviously, if you disagree with my list, remember to leave your top 5 underrated teams down below, and I'll be sure to reply to every single comment. And don't forget to join the live this Saturday where we will be creating our best combined 11 for the 2026 World Cup.